Losing streak in the middle of a season that ended without a trip to the playoffs. Coach Matt LaFleur remains confident despite what he's seen the last 2 weeks.
There's a lot of football in front of us. The bottom line is we got to find a way to win a game. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that the last 2 weeks. And so that's always the struggle is, you just got to find a way to get one. And you can't never take it for granted either. You got to put the work in. You got to focus on the day-to-day and try to improve.
Injury-wise, the only guy not practicing today was cornerback Nate Hobbs. That meant defensive end Lucas Van Ness and wide receiver Matthew Golden each took part, at least on a limited basis today. Again, with the Packers and Giants on Sunday at MetLife Stadium. Kick is set for noon. As for Wisconsin, they're also on the road this week. They'll face off against number 2 Indiana on Saturday. The Hoosiers unbeaten and have just 2 losses since the start of the 2024 season. Badgers, meanwhile, coming off a win over Washington. Kick on Saturday is set for 11 a.m.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
As a proud sponsor of the WIAA, Rural Mutual roots for all of Wisconsin's student athletes. Whether they're a hometown hero or they dream of the national spotlight, sportsmanship keeps Wisconsin strong. Visit ruralmutual.com/WIAA to learn more about how they support high school athletics.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, it's an off day for the Bucks, but they will be back in action tomorrow night when the Hornets come to Fiserv Forum. They lost to Charlotte last night on the road, and Wisconsin going to face off against SIUE coming up on Monday at the Kohl Center. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
There's a way to go at Micah. Yeah, remember that? I was the one guy that raised his hand and said, I got a couple first-round picks and Kenny Clark. All right. Green Bay last season through 9 games, 6-3. Green Bay this season through 9 with Micah, 5-3-1. Dallas last year through 9 games, 3-6. Dallas this year through 9, 3-5-1. This is not the NBA, where an amazing dunk, a windmill dunk, can supersede production. It will define you. Dunks will define you. This is the NFL. And Micah's rep has always been he is a splash player, a remarkable athletic splash player.
We're very capable of winning these games, beating ourselves in fundamentals and technique. And once we do that, we're going to be a really good team. For right now, we just got to get back to the basics. The way we just play, we're going to win a lot of football games.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
It's a little sound from Cowherd's show the other day, which I saw because Micah Parsons actually quote tweeted it. He's mixing it up with Cowherd on Twitter. I don't listen to that much Cowherd. I listen to his Sunday podcast with Middlecoff. And if he does something with Nick Wright, I'll normally catch it. I just don't listen to that much national stuff. I listen to Ebo. I've listened to more and more Ebo the last couple of weeks. I'm kind of hooked on Over the Line. And then obviously I'm on Bill's show for 4 hours a day. And I listen to The Camp with Zach and Jesse. I listen to Microbrew, Kurt and JR, especially in the season. And if I'm not listening to that stuff, I'm probably just listening to music. I don't know. I haven't been that dialed into Cowherd. I haven't been that dialed into First Things First, but I saw that clip. I said, that's interesting. And if nothing else, an interesting bit of sound to play at the beginning of the show. We've talked so much about the Packers offense with good reason. I thought we could change it up, have a little fun, and maybe talk about the Packers defense and some of the things that are being said, or I'm going to explain some of the things that we should be saying about the Packers defense this week, but we're not. That's where I want to begin. And I thought, a little fun audio of Cowherd's show, taking a pot shot at Micah. It makes for good radio. Good way to start the show. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Mike Clemens is going to be here at 5:30. And I don't think I'm betraying Mike's confidence here by reading this text. I just want to read you this because I think Mike's going to bring the goods. Mike always brings the goods. But, I'd like to think every night we have a good show. But come on, some shows are better than others. Let's be real. Mike texted me this today, and I got to find it. I send way too many texts today. Mike texted me and said, talk to you at 5:35 tonight. My topic for your show today is what Jordan Love still needs to learn that Favre and Rodgers did at this point of their career. Ooh, that's what Mike's got. I'm fascinated. He's got me hooked. That's a hell of a tease. So that's what Mike's going to bring to the table at 5:35. So you're not going to want to miss that conversation. And the latest from what was said from coordinators, I have a little bit of Jeff Hafley, a little bit of Rich Bisaccia, just a taste. Jeff Hafley might still be speaking right now. I was cutting a couple of comments from both the Packers special teams coordinator and their defensive coordinator in the last kind of half hour before the show. So we'll mix that in as well. And any of your phone calls, if you want to talk a little bit about the Badgers, we did a little bit of that last night. That was fun. I don't know what you would say about the Brewers, but we'll have plenty of free time to explore other topics tonight if you're interested, and I'll take your phone calls at 608-321-1670, the live stream as well. I'm always going to plug the YouTube channel at the start, please. I would appreciate a subscription. And wasn't that a nice comment from Cone Roller when he called in, driving around out in California, and said, hey, shout out to the new, or the newish, it's been out for a couple months, but the relatively newish Wisco Sports Zone app. What a great Apple Play interface, he said. Excellent news. So I'm glad to hear that for our listeners who don't live in the range of one of our radio affiliates. So download that app as well. All of the live streams and the podcasts, and you can listen 24/7 on that app as well. So I found that bit of commentary from Cowherd interesting because the Packers have lost more games than we would have expected. They set expectations so high after weeks 1 and 2, and rightfully so. This is a team that's been very young, kind of knocking on the door, a team that should be on the come up, right? A team that should be entering their Super Bowl window. We've seen Jordan Love perform at a high level in the playoffs, not in every game, but I just think it's interesting. So many quarterbacks, we bang on Sam Darnold and we bang on Daniel Jones and we bang on Dak Prescott and all these guys who perform really well in the regular season, but maybe don't have any great highlights in the postseason. And for however you feel about Jordan Love, there's proof of concept there. We've seen him do it. Even if it's just one game, well, that's one more game than many quarterbacks that may be in his tier. That's one more game than many of those guys have shown. So there's been a lot of excitement about this Packers team the last 2-ish years. And then Micah Parsons arrives. That excitement and that anticipation goes even higher. And then they did to the Lions what they did in week 1. And then they did to the Commanders what they did in week 2, and it looks like it's clicking. And oh my, this Packers team is legit, and they've taken a step. And ever since then, they've left a lot to be desired. And most of that has been on the offense. I think it's been talked about plenty this week that in their 3 losses this year, they've allowed 16 points, 13 points, and 10 points. It's been on the offense. But because the Micah Parsons trade was such a big deal, and everybody, as Cowherd explained, banged up on the Cowboys so much for making that deal, when the Packers are losing, even if the point totals aren't crazy, and they haven't been, they've averaged 13 points allowed in all 3 of their losses. Again, 16, 13, and 10. It's an easy number to average. Even I can do that. People are going to look at Micah Parsons because you gave up first-round picks. You paid him all this money. Where's the performance? And he doesn't have a sack in these last 2 games. I don't even think he has a quarterback hit. He's got some pressures, but the results, the splash plays, the actual hitting of the quarterback, that hasn't been happening. And I'm a little bummed this week, specifically about the Eagles game. Forget about the Browns game. Forget about the Panthers game. I'm specifically bummed with this Eagles game because I think we were robbed of some really fun conversations this week had the Packers won. Let's say this is an exercise I like to do a lot. If you've listened to the show for any length of time, you know this is something that I like to do. And maybe it annoys the hell out of you. And if that's the case, I'm sorry. But an interesting thing, or a thing that I find interesting, is let's consider what we would be saying this week if the game was flipped. Let's say instead of the Packers losing 10-7, they won 10-7, or they won 13-10, which is very reasonable. You can't do this exercise. Like if the Packers lose 28-3, you can't do this exercise. You can't. But what if they had won 28-3? Well, the game was such a blowout. That's not even a reasonable, fair conversation to have. But in the case of the Browns game, 1-score game. Case of the Panthers game, very winnable, right down to the final possession. It was tied. And in the case of the Eagles game, we all agree the Packers drove into maybe not the red zone, but they got close a couple of times and then got backed up and they had to punt. You know, they were right on the doorstep. That Christian Watson pass gets called back because of an illegal formation. It's not unreasonable. It's not unfair to just do a thought exercise based on, well, what if the Packers had won 10-7 instead of losing 10-7, or won 13-10 instead of losing 10-7? That's fair, right? This is a game that we can consider that. We can do that thought experiment. I'm bummed because I would argue if the Packers had won 13-10, the offense still wasn't pretty, and we wouldn't be doing cartwheels and jumping jacks this week for Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love. But if the Packers had won 13-10, I think we'd be having conversations like, well, and that's why you build a high-level defense. That's why you go trade for Micah Parsons. That's why you invest in Edgerrin Cooper and Xavier McKinney. And that's why Rashawn Gary and all these players are so important, is because in a game where your offense doesn't have it, you can lean on your defense to win you a game. And let's be real. I know Monday night's game wasn't this brilliant display of football, but those are two really good defenses, right? That's something that we have to consider. That's something that we have to mix in to our discussions. If the Packers were playing, I don't know, the Bengals or a team with just a worthless defense, and the Packers defense sucked too, like let's say it was the 2011 Packers defense, well then yeah, if it was two bad defenses and the offenses were just peeing all over themselves, well then yeah, that's different. But that wasn't the case on Monday night. The Eagles defense, we watched them just a couple of months in the Super Bowl make Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs look as bad as I've ever seen them look, at least since 2021, when the Tampa defense made them look really bad. And going into the Super Bowl, I'm like, man, this feels a lot like 2021. That Tampa defense, that line and that secondary, they're physical, they hit, they don't have to blitz. It was the same thing with the Eagles. They made the Chiefs look bad. It's the same defense. And they had just gotten Nolan Smith back. They just got Brandon Graham out of retirement, right? Jalen Carter is a stud. He wasn't suspended this week, like maybe he was in week 1 or week 2, right? Like they were at full strength, and they had just added Jalen Phillips. They had just added some pieces to that team. So that's the Eagles defense that we just saw win a championship almost single-handedly at full strength, off a bye, plus some trade deadline acquisitions. That's a legit ass defense. And then the Packers defense, I don't think as good as Philly, but I think that's one of their better games that they've played this year, right? They were awesome. It didn't result in lots of sacks, but Jalen Hurts is really mobile, and they don't throw the ball a lot anyways. They held Saquon Barkley to like 60 yards. They only gave up 10 points, getting no help from their offense. They were on the field almost, it felt like, the entirety of the first half. So because the offenses were so clunky and there were no points and it was a shutout at halftime, I think everybody watched that game and said, oh, what a crappy, terrible football game. What these idiot coaches, these bum quarterbacks. A.J. Brown isn't happy. Jordan Love, he stinks. You can't trust him. And these offenses were complicit. Don't get me wrong. They played their part in a low-scoring game. But those defenses are awesome. And the bummer to me, as a Packers fan that wants to see my team win and owner that wants to see my team win, but I also, talk about this stuff for 6 hours a day between Bill's show and this show. I like interesting conversations. I don't like complaining about the same things every week. I like there to be interesting narratives. I'm rooting when I watch these games. I'm rooting for my Packers, but I'm also kind of rooting for the talk show. Like, give us something juicy. Give us a new story. Give us a new narrative. And I'm bummed because the Packers just won 13-10, which again was on the board. That game was right there and very winnable. I think we'd be having conversations this week about that's why you hired Jeff Hafley. And that's why you build the defense. And that's why you go get Micah Parsons, is for the weeks where you play an elite defense and your offense is struggling and maybe not playing at their best. And the coach and the quarterback aren't completely and totally aligned. And you're dealing with injuries to Tucker Kraft and lots of skill position players and upheaval on your line. When you're a contender, you still need to be able to occasionally win a game like that. That's why you go build the defense. I think had the Packers won this game, even by a shoelace, even in an ugly game, we'd be talking much more this week about, man, those were two baller defenses. Those two defenses are going to continue to play well and be part of a contending team, hopefully late into the season. But because the Packers lost, we're going to focus on the misery of the offense, which is fair too. I'm just a little bummed out. I thought that's the best the Packers defense has played this season. Here's Jeff Hafley. This was just about 25 minutes ago. I believe asked by Bill Huber. It was towards the beginning of the press conference. So Huber normally, if he doesn't bat leadoff, he's not far behind. He's due up in the first inning in all these press conferences, asking about Jeff Hafley and their ability to stop the run and their performance against Saquon Barkley in that Eagles line.
Kind of what we talked about last week. I think it came back to the detail and the strain and the fundamentals and technique. And I thought our staff had a really good plan, and I give them a lot of credit. We put a lot of work into that. We knew how explosive and how talented that offense was and the amount of points that they've been able to score. And I just think we went out and executed the plan. I mean, I thought our line strained. I mean, gosh, they did such a good job of staying square against those big offensive linemen, tearing off blocks. Guys were in their right gaps. I mean, we had safeties running downhill. X and Evan were as physical as they've been. We had corners on the edge tackling. I mean, it was inspiring football to watch how physical and violent we were. I mean, Quay and Coop just engaging and tearing off blocks. And That's how we have to play the run. And we showed that earlier in the season, and we kind of hit a little bumpy path. And that's our expectation. That's our standard. Because if we can do that against that offensive line and that running back, then our expectation is we should be able to do that. It's not going to be easy. But I like the plan. I like the execution. I'm really proud of the way those guys played it. That's a good group.
So a little bit of a summary there of Jeff Hafley of the effort and the performance that they had against the Eagles. AJ makes a really good point on the live stream. And I think I said this, or we talked about this towards the end of the show yesterday, or maybe even on Tuesday. I lose track. But AJ says the loss to the Eagles is easier to stomach if you didn't blow to the Browns and the Panthers, throw in Dallas too. That's the thing. And I think this is what I said at the end of the show yesterday. If the Packers were, what would the record be? Whatever the Eagles are now. And again, I struggled with the math, so I've obviously not cleared this up at all. The Eagles are 7-2. If the Packers were 7-2 instead of 5-3-1, and they have a tough loss to the Eagles and a weird game in Cleveland, but you're able to beat the Cowboys and able to beat the Panthers, this feels way different. 100%. Yeah. My concern with the Packers right now is with the offense totally, but I think secondary to that, or a side story to that concern about the offense is this team has now really struggled situationally in 3 games that were right there for the taking, right? Cleveland was a 3-point game. Dallas was tied the entire time. The fourth quarter, back and forth affair, overtime, 2-minute drill, up the yin, right? Multiple times. Carolina, 16-3. That's a 3-point game. Philly, it's a 3-point game. These are all 3-point games. On top of being concerned about the offense, putting together a 4-quarter affair and scoring points and avoiding mistakes. Yes, that's been the conversation. Set that to the side. The other concern is, do I trust this coaching quarterback to be buttoned up and to execute and to win ugly games? Because you got to win ugly games. You can't stack up enough wins over a regular season, especially in the NFC and especially in the North. You can't stack up enough wins if you don't win a couple of these ugly games. And in order to win ugly games, you need to be able to have an ugly turnover, and you need to be able to commit a couple of penalties and then bounce back the next drive and just take care of business anyway. And if you look at the Eagles' schedule, the Eagles are the team that the Packers would love to be right now. Not perfect, right? Not smooth, not firing on all cylinders, but they've managed to muscle out a couple of wins as they figure things out. And again, it's hard to compare the Packers and the Eagles in a vacuum because we just saw the Eagles win a Super Bowl. But if you just take these 2 regular seasons, the Eagles are having the season that you would love the Packers to be having. They beat the Cowboys week 1, not a perfect game, far from it, but they eked it out by 4 points. They beat the Chiefs by 3 points. They eked it out over the Rams on the back of their special teams, right? They beat the Giants by 6 or the Vikings by 6, the Packers by 3. And Eagles fans, and if you were to listen to WIP or to listen to Eagles podcasts, I'm sure that fan base has lots to complain about, just like we have lots to complain about. But it's okay to complain about those things when you're 7-2 and you're able to win a couple of these ugly games. The Packers, I would argue, do they have an ugly win? Cincinnati, they won by 9. It's not like they had to execute at a high level in the 2-minute. In fact, they didn't, right? Like that 4th down towards the end, I don't know that the Packers did execute in the 2-minute down the stretch. Washington and Detroit, they kind of ran away with. Those were kind of front-running wins. Arizona, they executed down the stretch. I'll give them credit there. Pittsburgh, it was really just, a quarter and a half where they turned it on, and that was enough. They don't have any ugly wins. And ugly wins, you'd rather blow every team out, but the sign of winning ugly, or what you learn from winning ugly games, is we can make some mistakes and bounce back from it. We can play a game that's closer than we thought and still execute. And the Packers haven't really done that. So I think this Eagles game was such a missed opportunity. If they just win 13-10 instead of losing 10-7, which again, I think is a reasonable thought experiment because that game was close and the Packers would have plenty of opportunities. I just think the feeling and the discussion is much different this week, even though the offense is still littered with issues, right? And that bums me out as a Packers fan, but also as a talk show host. Like I want some juicy new things to discuss, and Monday Night Football really didn't give us that. I'll take your Packers calls on the other side of this very quick break. Just a couple words from our sponsors, and I'll get to you right on the other side. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I won't say it's frustration. Whenever you lose in the league, you get a couple minutes, maybe a couple hours to feel down. But, you got to realize it's still a long season. We still got everything ahead of us. And we got to lock in and be focused and make sure we make our corrections because we got a big game going into, New York next week.
It's Rashawn Gary after the game. Hey, are you frustrated losing another close game? And I don't know what he's supposed to say. That's a good answer. Perspective-filled answer. 5 division games remaining. Still a lot in front of them. It's just really annoying. 3-point loss to the Browns, 3-point loss to the Panthers, 3-point loss to the Eagles. And again, if you're able to win 2 of those games ugly, the other one's fine. You're not going to win every week in the NFL. I am growing concerned with the Packers. The offense, yeah, we've been talking about that for 2 weeks, but another concern is I don't know that this team knows how to win an ugly game and execute down the stretch and just get out of a building with a win. And you got to be able to do that to stack up enough wins to win a division in the regular season, but then also in the playoffs. Like, you're not going to cruise control to every win in the postseason. If you got to win multiple playoff games in a row, that's what it takes. 1 or 2 of them are going to be ugly. And this team hasn't really shown me the ability to win ugly games yet this year. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. How about you?
I'm doing okay. I think this is a really good conversation to have because from the standpoint, like last time we talked, we kind of broke down the NFL as a whole last time. And looking around the league, like this whole season to me is bizarre. Like it's ugly wins everywhere. Like we've got the two best teams in the NFL right now with the best records are the Broncos. And you look at those games, and every single game, it's like two teams trying to race to the bottom on who's trying to lose it more.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Colts that are 8-2. I mean, the Colts with Danny Dimes. I mean, who had that on their bingo card, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the Panthers team that we lost to turned around and just got beat by the New Orleans Saints. I'm looking around and I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, it's just ugly games across the board everywhere. Like, nothing seems real.
Sure.
So for the Packers, it's like if you ask me, okay, well, looking at the next few games, like the rest of the season's a gauntlet for us based on how we're playing. I mean, Dan Campbell took over play calling and they just dropped a 40 burger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're beating that.
Well, luckily you won your home game. Like I'm less concerned about the Detroit game on Thanksgiving because you took care of business at home. When you have elite teams in your division, like sometimes you just look to split. You win your home games. They're going to have to do better than split because they've lost games now to the Browns and the Panthers and then, dropped that game to the Eagles that was winnable. You tied to the Cowboys. You need to do a little bit better than split with the Bears and the Vikings, but I'll actually take a split with the Lions. They already, I think, played their part in that.
Right. And here's my thing is like just the next few games, I just don't know because we haven't been able to show that we can win an ugly game. To your point,
correct.
And that's the thing. I mean, I think our defense is good enough to keep us close in these games, but I just don't know if the offense, our run blocking is not good. Grant.
No,
it's not good at all.
The O-line's not good. I'm going to cut you off, Jeremy, because I want to leave it right there. You just took us around the NFL and said the Broncos are winning ugly games. And the Eagles, as I said in our opening segment, are winning ugly games. Yeah, a lot of these good teams are winning ugly games. It's fine. Look, and I've said this for the last month because, up until the Panthers game, it's like they need to blow somebody out. Great. And I kept telling you, look around the league. Nobody's blowing anybody out. Okay. Look around the league. The good teams are still winning ugly. The Packers aren't doing that. So, yeah, you can tell me, well, the Broncos aren't blowing anybody out and the Eagles aren't blowing anybody out, at least not on a weekly basis, or the Bills or whatever. Sure. But those teams are still finding a way to scratch out more wins than the Packers are. And that's kind of an extension of what I said in the first segment and my concern. It's like, look, if this team is working through some things and their offense isn't clicking on all cylinders, fine. It's a long season. You could potentially have time to figure that out, especially when you've had injuries on the O-line and at wide receiver and you lost your best player in Tucker Kraft. All right, you have time to figure that out. But you need to win some ugly games against lesser teams in the meantime. And they, unlike lots of those contending teams that you mentioned, Jeremy, haven't been able to do it. And that's a concern. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. Happy
Cone.
Thursday.
Happy Thursday, Cone. What's up with you?
I'm doing well. Winning ugly. I mean, look at the last time the Packers won the Super Bowl. Every game in that playoff run was a little different. They won in different ways. I mean, that shootout with Atlanta to the NFC Championship with Chicago. I mean, complete polar opposites. And that's what it's going to take. And I wanted to see if you saw the blowhard Adam Schefter float out Jeff Hafley for Giants head coach opening.
I did see that today. Yeah.
And with that, if Hafley's walking at the end of this year to become a head coach, would you fire Matt LaFleur, install Jeff Hafley as head coach to keep him in the building?
Before the season ends?
No, just like, either that or at the end of the year.
I just don't know.
Just to keep Hafley.
Okay. So I really like Jeff Hafley as a defensive coordinator. I don't know that he's going to make some stud head coach. We talk about these things all the time, Cone. This came up when Paul Christ was here and everyone wanted Jim Leonard, right? This is where I show my ignorance and I need to talk to like a hardo NFL historian. Like, are there ever examples of where teams do this? Where they fire their head coach and promote somebody? You know what I mean? I feel like it's talked about constantly. I can't for the life of me think of when it's actually happened. I just feel like that's not how the league works. And you could tell me that they should do it and they should break that. I just, for as much as we talk about it, it seems like it never happens.
No, yeah. I mean, the Jim Leonard scenario was exactly this, and that didn't happen. but maybe we wish it would have happened. So
it's hard to imagine it would have been worse the last couple of years had it happened. I suppose it could have been worse, not much worse.
He definitely would have kept the relationship with these Wisconsin head high school coaches.
Does he land Ethan McIntosh as a recruit? Probably.
People are asking.
I don't know if anyone's asking that. Do you think Jeff Hafley, let me ask you this, Cone. Jeff Hafley leaves at the end of the year, goes to coach the Giants. Do you think he takes them to the playoffs and is a good head coach?
No, I don't believe in defensive-led head coaches. I'm going to be honest.
For the most part, I don't either. I think there are outliers. I think you got to be incredible. Like Vrabel almost seems to have transcended a side of the ball. He just seems to be like Tomlin light, or maybe even better than Tomlin. Mike McDonald in Seattle is working. He's like brilliant. He's like McVay of the defense. Other than that, like there's not a lot of examples of it working. You have to think the world of Hafley as a person and a leader in a community. He needs to be the best football CEO in the world for it to work, especially going to a bad organization. You know what I mean?
Yeah, otherwise you're just getting what? Matt Eberflus 2.0?
Yeah, well, I actually think that's a great way of framing it. Cone, I appreciate the call. I listened to Jeff Hafley. In fact, I was thinking about this before the show started because I was cutting a little audio of his press conference. I'm like, man, I do really like this guy. I really like this guy. He communicates well. You can tell there's so much enthusiasm. And I'm just watching press conferences. So I have as much reason to watch and listen to Jeff Hafley from 10,000 feet and think, damn, that's a really good coach. I don't know. I think when Adam Schefter and others are floating Jeff Hafley's name, that's, the agent working the channels and, you're running a television show as well. So New York just fired their head coach. They are now playing the Packers, whose defensive coordinator has been thought of as maybe a potential guy who's on the rise, and he's from that area. And he talked about that in his presser today. He's got a lot of family coming to the game. So I think it's a good story. I don't know. Long answer put very short, Cone. No, I would not do that. If I fire Matt LaFleur, I'm not installing Jeff Hafley. I'm sticking offense because it just works way more often than it doesn't. And we have lots of precedent for that. But I'm trying to think if there's anybody who's like NFL historian, good memory, nerd about this stuff. Find me an example of where a team fires their head coach and promotes an assistant of that head coach. Because it's talked about all the time. In fact, I can't remember this for sure, but I bet if you were to ask an Andy Herman or Aaron Nagler type who have been chest deep in this crap for 2 decades, when McCarthy first got here, when McCarthy was here and he first hired Pettin, I bet there were people who were like, we got to fire McCarthy and promote Pettin. I bet those takes were thrown around. I can't remember for sure. If you were to ask a Packer person, I bet they would be able to confirm or deny. We have these conversations as fans constantly. We're doing it now with Hafley. We did it with Chris and Leonard. We have these conversations all the time. And yet I can't think of a single time it's happened. And maybe it's happened, and maybe you would argue that more teams should do that. Okay, well, that's a separate conversation. But I'm just telling you, it's to my memory and in my frame of reference, on balance, it's not something that I can ever remember happening, but we talk about it like it happens every other month. It's just an interesting disconnect in NFL reality and what we talk about on, sports talk radio and on Twitter and stuff. We'll take a couple-minute break, come back. I got a couple comments from Rich Bisaccia that I would like to discuss next, and I'll continue to take your phone calls as well, 608-321-1670. And don't forget, Mike Clemens, 1 hour away.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I got confidence that our offense is going to go out, and this is no disrespect to the Giants, and we're going to score a lot of points. I mean, that's one of the best head coaches in all of the NFL and one of the best play callers, who I still hate going against in 2 minutes like we do today, because he's really hard to defend. And they're going to get going. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about what we did against the Pittsburgh Steelers on offense. So we're going to be okay.
A little bit more from Jeff Hafley today. That last part just made me laugh. He's like, hey, 2 weeks ago, we lit the Pittsburgh Steelers on fire and everyone was talking about how incredible Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love were. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, it's crazy the difference that 2 games can make. And that's the game, right? That's how it works, especially in the NFL, right? You're only as good as your last, I would say, game or so. I think you can have 1 clunker without everybody jumping ship. You have 2 clunkers, Well, then is what we're seeing this week. People are going to start jumping ship. Before I get back to the phone calls here, before this last break, we were talking about Cohn asked, would you move on from LaFleur to promote Hafley? Because we were listening to Hafley a little bit. And I said, look, for as much as we talk about this, I feel like it never happens. And we got a couple of submissions here. Derek and Eau Claire said Patriots did it with Gerard Mayo. In fact, they did. And that was probably one of the worst coaching hires in recent memory. I would claim that was even worse than Brian Callahan, who lasted longer than Mayo, but also like the calculus behind that hire just made more sense, right? He was an offensive guy who came from that Bengals situation. Like that Gerard Mayo hire was a catastrophe to the point where the owner came out after the year and was like, my bad. Like I missed on that one. And he'd never even met a coordinator before. I think he was like a linebackers coach. He had no connections around the league. He wasn't able to bring anyone in. Like it was a patchwork stat. Like it was a catastrophe. Another text here, and now I can't find it, said not the NFL, but Brewers went to Council, from Council to Murphy. Badgers went from Bo to guard. Yeah, but Council left, and the Brewers were then left to replace him. And Bo Ryan retired. Bo Ryan left in a way that almost commanded the Badgers to hire Greg Gard. You know what I mean? I'm talking about we are firing the guy we have because we want the other guy. So I don't think did the Patriots fire Bill Belichick to get to Gerard Mayo? I think those two things synced up. They had always thought Gerard Mayo was going to be the next guy. That's probably the closest. That's probably the closest thing to what we're talking about. And this text, I got one from the 920. I don't have your name. Didn't the Cowboys fire McCarthy and promote their coordinator? Yeah, but they didn't even really fire McCarthy. They just let his contract run out and he left. Even that, I'm talking, we are decisively going to get rid of the guy we have because we want the other guy. It just doesn't happen often. Rick says on the live stream, maybe this is a good one. Jason Garrett, Wade Phillips. Maybe. Yeah. The only reason I'm talking about this is because people bring it up constantly. It's a conversation that happens all the time in spaces like this, but it very rarely happens in reality. Thomas, on another thing, Cohn said, back to our first and second segment of the show, says, can we stop with the 2010 comparisons? I agree. I don't want the 2010 comparisons. I don't want the 27 club comparisons. But what Cohn was saying, and I thought it was a great point, I wish I would have drawn more attention to this before we took our last break, but then we got talking about Hafley. On the idea of winning ugly. If you are going to win enough games in the regular season to win a division and host playoff games, and then win multiple playoff games in a row, which I like to use that phrasing. I often say, instead of win a Super Bowl, I say win multiple playoff games in a row because that's what it takes. Some of them are going to be ugly. And what Cohn was saying, and it was a brilliant point, is look at the Packers Super Bowl run in 2010. They won one of those games going away, the Atlanta game. They had to fight and scratch and claw. There was adversity in Philly. The defense had to make a final stand, right? They had to fight and scratch and claw. One of the ugliest games you'll ever see. Packers-Bears in the NFC Championship game. And then the Steelers as well. That was a back and forth. The Packers ran away with one of those games. So my point is, and what I was saying in the first segment is, man, on top of the concerns surrounding the Packers offense, which are valid, and I think the number one item with this Packers team going, other than the Arizona game, they've lost all of their close games. They lost in Cleveland. They were unable to win in Dallas. They lost to Carolina. They lost to Philly by 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. You need to be able to get some of those games, even when you're not clicking on all cylinders, to win enough games in the regular season and to be 7-2 instead of 5-3-1 or whatever they are, but also to win multiple playoff games in a row because there's going to be ugly games in the mix. And that's why Cohn brought up, 2010, which is a great example. That's a playoff run we can look at. The Eagles last year, the Eagles won a clunky game against the Packers. They fought tooth and nail against the Rams. They ran away with the Super Bowl. They just had their Atlanta division round game in the Super Bowl. They sequenced it differently. I'm concerned that this Packers team, on top of not having a very good offense right now, also just doesn't have the mettle to win ugly, close games, and they need to be able to do that. Otherwise, you're never going to win your division, let alone win a Super Bowl. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
It's Chad from Sun Prairie.
Hey, Chad. Sorry, I cut you short yesterday. We have a little bit more time now. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. One thing that you were talking coaches, the next one to take over and kind of getting rid of a winning coach to replace him, John Gruden, 2001, replaced Tony Dungy, who put in everything. They brought him in, kind of, he wasn't right behind them, but They essentially showed Tony Dungy the door and brought in Gruden.
Well, and another Tampa one, and I just got a tweet about this. Todd Bowles replacing Bruce Arians might be another good one too. That felt Brady motivated, but still, yeah, there's two with Tampa that are probably applying here.
Well, didn't Arians have some heart issues too?
But yeah, there was also that was going on as well. And they didn't fire him. They kicked him upstairs. He stayed in the org for whatever that's worth.
He's still there, isn't he?
I don't know. I'll look that up. Keep talking.
But I mean, either way, you know, one thing that you kind of missed on the point too, and the common denominator in every single Packers loss has been a missed field goal.
Correct.
And we're talking about a kicker again. Like, how many years in a row? Like, I'm sorry, but Rich Bisaccia needs to go. I know he's loved. Needs to go.
I don't love it. I don't love him. Who loves him? Players, maybe?
The players love him.
Apparently.
Players love him. But it's funny because some of the players that really, like, I mean, I know Nixon's his boy, even though, you know, he's now a defensive guy, but, you know, Nixon's here because of Rich.
He gets credit for that.
But,
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, you know, he gets credit for being likable amongst the coaching staff, but, oh, man, like, maybe he's not a special teams coach. Maybe he needs to relinquish that to somebody else and just be the assistant head coach.
I think you know what? I think if LaFleur is here past this year, and I would still bet on that, we're going to learn a lot, and that'll be revealed in the final 2 months of the season here. But like, I think organizationally, they need to figure something out there. Like, I think it goes beyond special teams coordinator. They could replace Bisaccia if they want, but it seems to go higher than that to me. There has to be a common denominator past the guy who they're hiring to coordinate the special teams. You know what I mean?
But I mean, so you don't think it's a failure on Bisaccia then?
Not solely. No, it can't be. You're telling me that the last 4 guys they've hired to do this job are all idiots? Like, I really struggle to fully buy that.
Part of it isn't that. That's true. Granted, the environment that they kick in is different. But
yeah, but kicker wasn't the issue for the longest time with Crosby. It was everything. If it was just kicker, that would be one thing.
You're right. It's just, you know, it's maybe they need to go back to, you know, fundamentals on it. I know that they don't practice this stuff as much anymore,
oh, yeah.
And that's a fact.
So we're reminded every week. Yeah, they don't have enough
right.
time. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough time.
Then practice it. Like, if you keep losing games by special teams, maybe it's a little more important than worrying about something on, you know, extra reps on the one-on-one defender beating the offensive tackle drill.
Yeah, routes on air, the tackling sled, or I don't know, anything.
Yes. Yeah, maybe we need to run a few more gunner scenarios where we actually, you know, contain, or, you know, how about long distance kicking where we actually kick it in the zone now instead of too deep or too short. Like,
well, you know, the rules just changed. We're all figuring this out on the fly here in week 10, Chad. Come on.
I don't know. The Ravens figured it out pretty quick. Granted, they're not the shining example of winning, but
no, I'm being a sarcastic prick. Yeah, a lot of these teams figured it out before week 10. The Packers are lagging behind a little bit there.
Yeah, like we can't continue to lose games on it. At that point, it becomes a head coach's fault. And yes. I'm not a fire LaFleur guy. I've never been. In fact, I was never even a fire Big Mike guy until that the Arizona game when it was evident that he had lost the locker room.
Yeah.
I don't think LaFleur's lost the locker room by any means.
No, I don't think so. I think this team is locked in. Chad, that's a good call. You know, it's funny. You mentioned Bisaccia. I have a couple comments from him. So he spoke, I don't know, maybe like 3:15, 3:30. So I was able to listen to, I listened to all of it. I didn't listen to all of Halfley, but I heard all of Bisaccia. And he spoke for, I don't know, 5-6 minutes. It was rather short. There was one question about kicker. And it's so easy and overplayed and lame for the radio host to be like, why don't you ask this? And why don't you hold the feet to the fire on this? I just don't understand how every question at Rich Bisaccia isn't something about what's up with McManus? What's Haversack doing here? He's still on the roster. Is McManus healthy? When did he get fully healthy? Is there a mechanical issue? Is it just that he's missed? Is it wind? What, like, that should have been the whole presser to me today. because, as Chad pointed out, they have lost all 3 of these games because of some kicking issue. They've missed kicks or had kicks blocked or both in all of these losses. And the kicker that they're continuing to trot out there has the worst field goal percentage among starting kickers in football. And the guy who's still here, which is their choice, they could cut him at any time. Haversick is still here, but inactive on game day, never missed a kick in his time kicking, and holds the franchise record. For whatever that's worth to you, that seems kind of significant to me, but whatever. Place how much value you want on that. This is Rich Bisaccia. Here, give me a sec. I'll get it up. That's what he's... Yeah, this is Rich Bisaccia on McManus. Just generally speaking, how do you think he has responded and reacted to these last couple of weeks?
I think last year for whatever it is gone, and right now we're working through coming back off of an injury which he hasn't had for a long time, and he's striking the ball pretty good. So we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Okay. Still working through an injury. What was that part in the middle?
We're working through coming back off of an injury which he hasn't had for a long time, and he's striking the ball pretty good.
Well, he didn't strike it well on that 65-yarder. I don't really hold that against him, but he didn't strike that one very well. Still working back from the injury. Okay. All right. Again, I would have wanted 4, 5, 6 questions about kicker. And they asked about Savion Williams as a kick returner. I'll play that for you on the other side of this break. The kicker situation remains, to me, kickers aren't interesting. What's interesting to me is the process and the strategy with which the head coaches, the men in charge, are handling the kicker. And I think that's been a little bit of a debacle. That's what's interesting to me. I'll get to some of your texts, some of your comments, and we'll wrap up the first hour of the show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
No, we're confident with Brandon.
What gives you that confidence? Because he's last in the league for field goal percentage.
I know. I think some of those situations were like the other night. That's a tough situation to be in. I would say the day-to-day that we experience and watch and evaluate across the street. So we're going to put more stock into the practice. And then, ultimately you have to go out there and perform on game day.
One more time, that's Matt LaFleur yesterday. He looks great at practice. Okay. I'm not even advocating that Lucas Haversack should be the kicker. I don't know what I do. This is a very, very difficult decision that the Packers are needing to make with their kickers right now. Kickers. Oh, God. The fact that word came out of my mouth just shows you how porked they are. Kickers. Great. 2 kickers on the roster. I'm more interested in how they are justifying their decision. Communicate to us through these press conferences why you are making the decisions that you're making. And Bisaccia didn't really offer anything of interest today, which didn't really surprise me. This does not float my boat. This does not bake my beans.
Across the street. So we're going to put more stock into the practice.
That doesn't do it for me. And you can say that his percentage sucks because you asked him to kick 165-yarder. 165-yard prayer does not a percentage make. Here's a little bit more from Rich Bisaccia on Savion Williams as a returner. How do you see that he's coming along? How is he growing?
The first thing is that they've been kicking away from him to some degree, so that tells
Which
you.
Also, I'm not sure about that. Whatever. Just let it go.
The first thing is that they've been kicking away from him to some degree, so that tells you what other teams think of him, right? He's a good north-south physical runner. The thing we like is the way he's been finishing some of the runs. Broke a tackle again last week on the opening kickoff return over to the boundary, but then the next 2 kicks, the other one went to Bo, kicked it away from him, and then the other one, kid did a good job of kicking all the way in the corner, and Savion made a good play of keeping it from going in the end zone. So I think the next step for him is to just keep finishing and make sure you can get to all those dirty kicks. He works hard at it in practice.
Yeah, all right. Well, as long as we're making kicks in practice and working hard in practice, I suppose.
He works hard at it in practice.
As long as the special teams looks good in practice, then I suppose that'll translate to the game day. Johnny Driftless texts in with how conservative the Packers have been with injuries historically. I will never understand what they're doing with McManus. I don't give a crap, I assume you mean, who kicks best inside the reschedule center. That must be, I'm assuming that's voice to text. Your point is communicated, though. And with the Packers and the way they handle injuries, I think they're living mostly on reputation as a medical staff right now. I don't think they've been that conservative. Josh Jacobs is playing through a calf, and he came out before the game and said, well, yeah, typically this staff has to protect the players for themselves, but I got on the field. It's like, well, it doesn't sound like they protect too hard if you basically just talked your way into being into the game. I think this medical staff is living more on reputation as it pertains to, conservative decision-making with injured players. I think that's mostly a thing of the past. I think we can find a lot more examples in recent years where they brought a player back too fast or they were completely and totally unable to figure out a player's injury. Although Marshawn Lloyd, I guess, was back at practice today. I saw some tweets from players that says it looks like he's doing some things and ramping up. I don't know. Jaden Reed as well, for what it's worth. Both are still on IR, so they're not practicing. They're not activated yet. So that's an important hurdle, but it looks like they're both coming along nicely. I guess I was told, I read today, for whatever that's worth. I'll get Rob Domofsky's tweet and I'll get the latest on that on the other side of this update from Zach Heilprin. 2-minute break here. Mike Clemens at 5:35. He has some interesting Jordan Love things to share with us, or so he tells me. So I don't doubt him, by the way. And also Thorson and Heilprin coming up at 6 o'clock live at Monks and Sun Prairie. So to our WOZN audience, make your plan to get out there after work. Happy hour, get some food. Hour number 2 of the Wisco Sports Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers getting ready for a trip to New York to face the Giants. They're doing so with Lucas Van Ness on the field for practice for the first time since injuring his foot last month. Defensive end got hurt against Cincinnati when he got to quarterback Joe Flacco for a sack. Coach Matt LaFleur says it would be nice to get him back.
Yeah, I just think he's a really good player. So you always want good players out there on the field. His versatility is something that I think that could give us a boost. His ability to play on the edge or kick down inside. So, we'll see how it goes today and see where he's at.
Again, it'll be the Packers and Giants coming up on Sunday. Kick is slated for noon. Packers looking to avoid losing 3 straight games for the first time since 2022. Turning to the Badgers, they will head to Indiana tomorrow. It's where they'll take on the number 2 Hoosiers on Saturday. Wisconsin is a 29.5-point underdog in the game. Badgers have lost 2 straight in the series after winning 10 straight. However, are coming off their first win of the Big Ten season against Washington last week. Kick on Saturday is at 11.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
As a proud sponsor of the WIAA, Rural Mutual roots for all of Wisconsin student athletes. Whether they're a hometown hero or they dream of the national spotlight, sportsmanship keeps Wisconsin strong. Visit ruralmutual.com/WIAA to learn more about how they support high school athletics.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucs are back home after falling in Charlotte last night with Giannis Antetokounmpo watching from the bench. Milwaukee will get another shot at the Hornets tomorrow night as they come to Fiserv Forum. And the 24th-ranked Badgers back on the floor for practice today. They're going to be taking on SIUE on Monday at the Kohl Center. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil-Prin.
There's a way to go at Micah. Yeah, remember that? I was the one guy that raised his hand and said, I got a couple first-round picks and Kenny Clark. All right. Green Bay last season through 9 games, 6-3. Green Bay this season through 9 with Micah, 5-3-1. Dallas last year through 9 games, 3-6. Dallas this year through 9, 3-5-1. This is not the NBA. Where an amazing dunk, a windmill dunk, can supersede production. It will define you. Dunks will define you. This is the NFL. And Micah's rep has always been he is a splash player, a remarkable athletic splash player.
We're very capable of winning this game, beating ourselves in fundamentals and technique. And once we do that, we're going to be a really good team. For right now, we just got to get back to the basics. The way we just play, we're going to win a lot of football games.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
You get back to your phone calls and texts here in just a couple minutes. Mike Clemens coming up at 5:35. A couple of news items that have gotten me hot and bothered today, for better or worse. First of all, this new Twitter update. DMs are encrypted now. I was hoping, I was just thinking the other day, it's like, I don't have passwords on enough stuff. Could maybe we, good. Twitter DMs. Also, it looks horrible. It looks awful. And I'm talking about desktop. The DMs look awful. I'm a businessman. I engage in my Twitter group chats on my desktop, not on my phone. I'm not a child. It looks horrible. It looks worse than Facebook Messenger. I don't even know where these emojis, I haven't seen emojis that look this bad or reactions that look this bad in a decade. So I'm upset about that. I am very excited. I saw today that Mad Men will be getting added to HBO Max, which thank God, it's the one TV show that you just can't watch. Like, I'll get a streaming service to watch a show. And when I say streaming service, I mean Netflix, HBO, Disney Plus, Hulu. Like one of those. I'm not getting A&E Plus. It's like getting Big Ten Plus. It's like, okay, Peacock, if the Badgers are on Peacock, sure. I'm not getting Big Ten Plus. Get out of my face with that. And Mad Men, it's like you can get A&E Plus, or you can like buy all the episodes individually on Amazon. It's like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that second thing. But that is excellent news. Just in time for December, the darkest part of the year. So I cannot wait to get depressed. I'm totally going to rewatch Mad Men. That is great news. I feel like there was one other news item that got me all fired up today. And now I don't remember. I'm sure it'll come up. Ebo and Zach will probably talk about all of these things and more anything that's pertinent. Thorson and Heilprin coming up in about 55 minutes. They'll be live at Monk's in Sun Prairie from 6 to 7 tonight. So to our Madison audience, our WOZN audience, stop out there. It is a really fun time. I can't go tonight, and I'm a little bummed out. But I was there last week. I've been there a couple times. It's just a blast. And the food is baller. And the drinks, obviously. Nico, the bartender, excellent job. Ice cold beers. Obviously, happy hour, great place to watch Thursday night football as well. A text here from Cindy. This actually gets at something that I wanted to talk about, Cindy. Says, hey, Grant, nice to hear some updates on the injuries. What is the deal on Matthew Golden? They spent a first-round pick on him, and he's just not producing. Plus, the time that he does get on the field, Matt throws little slant passes at him. I'd kill for him to get slant passes. I feel like it's bubble screens and swing passes and stuff behind the line of scrimmage. A piece of media that I cannot recommend enough today for Cindy, for you, and others who are wondering. Now, Matthew Golden's been hurt. He was back at practice today. It seems like he's probably going to play this weekend. If you're like, hey, they haven't really used Matthew Golden that much. What's going on there? Well, he's a rookie. It's a crowded room, so that's fine. But I cannot recommend enough. Please go to Acme Packing Company today and read Justice Mosqueda's story about Savion Williams. Savion Williams is getting the ball. The only wide receivers with a higher touch rate in the NFL than Savion Williams are Jackson Smith-Njigba and Puka Nacua. If I may, can I read you a little bit more? One of the most interesting quirks of the Green Bay Packers offense right now is the team's usage of third-round rookie receiver Savion Williams. If you look at how the Packers depth chart stacks up right now, you can make the case that he's behind Dobbs, Watson, Reed, Golden, Wicks, Heath, and even cornerback Bo Melton in the pecking order, but that doesn't stop head coach Matt LaFleur from giving him the ball. On the 78 snaps he's been on the field this season, Williams has received 17 touches, including catching all 9 of his targets through the air. That should be your first hint that the team is manufacturing touches for the receiver. But 17 of 78 doesn't seem like a lot. That's just 22%. What you need to remember here is that about half of the NFL's touches go to running back carries, which means that just because receivers are 1/5 of the offensive skill players on the field on a given play, the average receiver isn't getting the ball 1/5 of the snaps they're on the field. So what's the NFL average? Among players who have played at least as many snaps as Williams this year, it's around 11%. Wow, Williams is double. So how does that stack up against the rest of the Packers players? Well, Justice Mosqueda continues, I'm glad you asked. Savion Williams is getting 22% of touches on the snaps that he's played. Golden is getting 12. Dobbs is getting 12. Wicks is getting 11. Watson's getting 9. And Heath is getting 3. 4 of the 6, he continues, wide receivers are between 9 and 12%, while Heath is not given many chances at just 3. Then there is Williams, who is getting force-fed the ball when he's on the field at nearly twice the rate of any other Green Bay receiver per snap. Now, here's the fun part. How many other receivers in the league do you think have a higher touch rate than Williams in 2025? What if I said it was just 2 players among players who have as many snaps? What if I told you those 2 players are Jackson Smith-Njigba and Puka Nacua, who currently rank top 3 in the NFL in receiving yards? The guys that Savion Williams is surrounded by, he is beneath only Jackson Smith-Njigba and Puka Nacua, and above Rashee Rice, Keenan Allen, Jimmy Horn, Jamar Chase, and Pop Douglas. And I'm going to continue here. For the most part, anyone close to the ballpark of Williams' touches per snap, roughly 1 touch per every 5 plays, is a bona fide number 1 wide receiver. The one exception here is the Panthers' Jimmy Horn, another gadget player who seems to draw the football despite his low season snap count. So if you see 83 on the field for the Packers, look for him to get a touch. Green Bay gives him the football like he's one of the premier receivers in the league when he's actually out there. As far as efficiency goes, it hasn't really panned out. In the air, Williams has turned those 9 receptions into 45 yards, 5 yards per. On the ground, he's carried the ball 8 times for 28 yards, a 3.5-yard average. For perspective, 3.8 yards per carry is equal to the worst season-long rate for any team in the NFL in 2025. So yeah, maybe Matt LaFleur shouldn't be force-feeding the ball to Williams in his high-usage gadget role. He's not exactly Jackson Smith-Njigba or Puka Nacua. I don't get it. I was on this 2 weeks ago. I just don't understand. And it would be one thing if the jet sweeps worked. I think, and allow me to make an allegation at you, my fellow Packers fans and owners. You might not like this, but you're going to hear it. I think some of you are just anti-jet sweep and anti-motion and anti-gadget and anti-reverse. I think some of you just hate it. And I'll go a step further. I think if the Packers never ran jet sweeps and never ran motions and never ran wide receiver screens and reverses, and they never did, and the Packers offense is performing like this, you know what I think? I think you would all be dying for jet sweep. Why do they never run a jet sweep? Why do they never run a reverse? Why do they never run a screen? I think some of you are just haters. You hate the jet sweep. You hate the reverse. And I think you're frauds about it. And I say this respectfully, of course. I hardly ever do this. I try not to put myself on a higher plane. I am wiser and smarter because I have a microphone. I don't do this very often, but I'll do it here. I am able to watch these games and discern whether or not the jet sweeps and the reverses and the gadget plays are effective. I don't hate them simply because they are, like I believe many of you do. And again, I think you're frauds in the way that you go about it. Not all of you, some of you. And if you're offended by this, I'm talking directly to you. Sorry, had to be said. I have been able to watch Savion Williams this season and say, that never works. Probably stop doing it. And the worst part about the Savion Williams touches, and this is completely anecdotal, but it's so anecdotal to my core that I believe that any stat would back it up. The Packers could be marching right down the field, just putting together the drive of the game. And for whatever reason, here comes this guy with a Guardian cap who's like, yep, let's get him the ball. He's the human emergency brake on the drive, halting it completely. Whether it's a pass behind the line of scrimmage or a carry, which will go nowhere, or in the case of the Panthers game, a fumble because he ran into Romeo Doubs' fat ass right in front of him. Like, I don't get it. And last week, there actually might have been some reason to get Savion Williams involved because all of their wide receivers and Tucker Kraft were hurt. And yet, Matt LaFleur said, we're going to do Bo Melton instead, which I'm actually fine with. If Matthew Golden is healthy this weekend and Romeo Doubs is fine and Christian Watson is fine and Dontavian Wicks is fine, not only do I not want Savion Williams to get the ball, I don't want him on the field at all. Because when he touches the ball, it doesn't work. And also when he touches the ball, he puts the emergency brake on any drive in which he participates in. It's very frustrating. And to see those numbers, the only players who are getting the ball at a higher percentage of the snaps in which they play than Savion Williams are Jackson Smith and Jigba and Puka Nacua. And you could argue that those two guys are two of the best receivers in football after the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson tier. Insane to me. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. All right, some of your calls. Now I've said my piece. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Darnell the Chump.
Hey, Darnell. What's going on?
Hey, I got two quick points here for you. One on Savion Williams. My brother, while we were watching the game a couple weeks ago, he called Savion Williams the Joey Ortiz of the Packers, and I thought that fit really well.
Oh, man.
Just like a black hole where the offense goes to die.
Yeah.
So point number one, right there. Number two, jet sweeps. I grew up loving them because I watched Melvin Gordon pick up 200 yards a game on them.
Yeah.
So it's like I have some mixed emotions when I watch them on the Packers. It's like, okay, well, they only work if you have, a dynamic playmaker, which Savion Williams is supposed to be, right? Grabbing the ball and then knowing what to do with it, right? Melvin Gordon could find the perfect cut.
Oh.
James White did the just absolute perfect cut. He didn't always have to go around the end, right? Sometimes he would cut like right off the tight end, and it was just perfect. You take it for 35 yards, right?
I'm just thinking about that Nebraska game, and my heart's doing little flutters in my chest.
Oh yeah. It's still in there. I was actually in college at the time. That was still probably the best game that I've ever been to. So that makes it hurt even more to see how far the Badgers have fallen. But when it comes to jet sweeps, they have their time and place, but I feel like they can't be like 4 times in a drive. You know what I mean?
Unless they're working, which again, they're not. That's the thing.
Right. But they even have their place when they're not working.
Okay.
Just to have a different flavor, but you can't overdo them, especially when they're not working, right? Which is, I think, what the issue is, where they're just not working at all, and they're still shoving them down our throats. Like, no, like this is where you need to read the room and try something different. But I don't know that that's going to happen, and I don't want to get into the coaching stuff just because it's like I wouldn't be able to go out there and say this is what we need to do.
That's okay.
Let's line up and go pick up some yards. But I don't get paid millions of dollars to make this decision.
You're
So,
darn right. You call radio shows. That's what we do, Darnell. Great call. You don't need to have the answers. You just need to point out the stuff that's not working and complain about it. That's what we're here for. And I do think some of you're kind of frauds with the way that the jet sweep is an interesting play in the psyche of a fan. When it's not working or when it's used and things aren't going right, it's the bane of everyone's existence and it's stupid and it's hokey. But you'll be the first person to call for it if the offense isn't working. Why don't they ever run a jet sweep? It's a tricky, weird thing. In the case of this team, I just look at Savion Williams. I'm like, find me the one play where it's like, there it is. I see proof of concept. We don't have it. 6083. We got loaded phone lines. So we're going to be kind of efficient here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Nick and Marinette. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Nick. How about you?
Good. So you started talking about Savion Williams as I was stewing in my vehicle thinking about him. Why is it when you look at like return men in the NFL or even Keyshawn Nixon, where when they get that ball, they hit the heck out of it? And now all of a sudden you look at Savion Williams, who is half-assing it down the field, and the jet sweeps are great. The reverses are sweet. Everything works. But you have to have guys that can block and someone that actually wants to run 100%. So you think the Packers can go back to putting Nixon back there as return man? And then also looking at it, too, at this point, nothing can be worse on offense than they have been. So, I mean, LaFleur could probably sit down and play some Madden and figure out some play calling that works in that game, let alone put it in the NFL. I mean, it can't hurt.
It can hurt, Nick. I think I want him to work on his game management. It's a great call, Nick. I'm going to cut you off there. I want him to work on his game management in Madden, the 2-minute stuff, right? When the clock's ticking down. It's just very frustrating. Savion Williams, I think, is their kick returner. Nixon's the corner, and I'm fine with that. Now I'm going to talk myself into the jet sweep and the reverse working, because now if they have Watson and Wicks outside, that looks a lot different than Dobbs and Golden blocking. Like, oh, maybe this is the week, actually. I don't know. I'm going to talk myself right back into this. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, how are we doing?
Excellent, Vagabond John.
Segment. We can go efficient. I just got one thing to say. Put it on my mind all day. Mentioned it during this morning's show. I think this is a sneaky big game for Matt LaFleur. And I get the sense, Grant, if they go out there and put up fewer than 14 points and lose the game, I think Packer Nation might be shocked next week. And I've just been
with a firing
convinced on Twitter. I think a firing, man. If they go out 3 straight games, if Jordan Love goes a whole month without throwing a touchdown, I think it could happen. If the NFL moves fast, and I think it could be sneaky.
I have the perfect framing. I'm sorry to cut you off. Okay, that's all you have to say. Okay, I have the perfect framing for this, and the stakes of Sunday's game and how it could lead to a firing if it goes a certain way. Here's the framing. There's one more person on hold. I promise I'll get to you. It'll be the last one. I'll give you plenty of time. Here's what it is. I have tweet notifications turned on for Adam Schefter, so every time he tweets, I see his little face on the buzzes on my phone or on my computer. If the Packers lose and it's bad, and they score, 7 points or whatever, if that happens on Sunday night or Monday morning, Adam Schefter tweets all the time. When I see his little face pop up on my phone, I am going to open that tweet thinking, could it be? I wouldn't expect it. I wouldn't bet on it. But if the situation that Vagabond, by the way, Vagabond, sneaky important game. No S. Yes, obviously it is. We're not breaking new ground there. But if it's really ugly and it looks like it looked the last 2 weeks, again, I wouldn't bet. I wouldn't expect Matt LaFleur to get fired. But if it goes bad, I am going to open Adam Schefter tweets Sunday night and on Monday like, maybe. Like there's going to be a little flutter in my chest when I click on that tweet and see what it is. Because it's on the board, which I would have thought inconceivable, 2 or 3 weeks ago. All right, one more call here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, this is Brandon Craig. Hey, I've got no issue with Savion Williams. I've got no issue with jet sweeps or bubble screens. The problem is that when you see that Guardian cap come out there, it's going to be a jet sweep or a bubble screen. Why just run them with him?
Well,
run them with other players?
Is he not capable? Can he not play actual wide receiver and just run routes? I don't know. That's something that we haven't talked about either.
Well, yeah, I don't know, but if we know it, if we see him and we know what the play is going to be, don't you think the defense knows what the play is going to be? I mean, why not put him out there and they say, oh, it's Guardian cap, look out for the bubble screen or jet sweep, have him run a slant, have Golden run the the jet sweep. Do something different. Don't be predictable.
Well, and I think, what did you say your name was? One more time, something Craig?
My name's Craig, but a lot of times when I'm listening to you, I'm driving back and forth to Crandon. So to set myself apart, I'm going to be Crandon Craig.
Okay, so I love this, Craig. Call back some. That's what I thought you said. I just wanted to confirm before I let you go. I love this. Okay. Another thing, you're talking about predictability. It would be one thing if Savion Williams occasionally runs a jet sweep. But again, he's getting the ball 22% of the snaps that he plays. And when he gets it, it's always some sort of run or it's always some sort of jet sweep. So the arithmetic for the defense isn't all that complicated. If Savion Williams is on the field, there's a 1 in 5 chance that he's getting the ball. And if he gets the ball, we know how he's getting the ball. Like, it's fairly predictable. It's just a numbers game. And these coordinators pour over this stuff. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back. One last segment before we get to Mike Clemens at 5:35.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. I'm not going to lie. I didn't really know what we were going to talk about tonight. I knew I wanted to kind of have fun with that Cowherd Micah Parsons audio, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the defense because we've been banging our head against the wall talking about the offense, Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur for 2 weeks. But then I also bookmarked this Savion Williams story that Justice Mosqueda did. He's like, yeah, he's getting the ball at a higher percentage of his snaps more than any wide receiver in football not named Jackson Smith and Jigba or Puka Nacua. It's like, oh, holy balls, that's kind of crazy. I'm like, I don't know. Can we build a segment around that? We had loaded phone lines so fast. We got people calling in from Marinette and Crandon to talk about Savion Williams, who is a player that 80% of football fans have no idea about. Like, I don't know who that guy is. Savion Williams, TCU guy. Okay. Phones lit up like nothing I've seen recently, at least since Nolan Winter's last double-double, which I guess was yesterday. Which also I didn't get yesterday. Sometimes I don't understand how you folks click. Like, I wanted to lead with Badgers basketball yesterday, but I thought, there's no way I can do that. I was telling RJ that in the hallway yesterday. It's like, I really just want to lead the show with Nolan Winter, but the Packers just lost another game. No chance I can do that. And then we got one or two Packers calls, and then 5 o'clock, I make mention of Nolan Winter once. And bing, 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 phone lines just lighting up one by one. Fascinating world this is. Derek in Eau Claire says, on the idea of hiring coaches, people got all hot and bothered for Jeff Hafley right now. Let's can LaFleur so we can promote Hafley. And my point is, like, that never really happens. You know what I mean? And there's some examples, but it's rare. And I'm not talking about this guy leaves and they promote the assistant. That's different. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the organization saying, we're going to get rid of this guy before his contract is up. When he doesn't want to go, we're going to get rid of him, and we're going to bring in the other guy. Derek in Eau Claire says maybe Antonio Pierce, but that was a midseason firing of McDaniels. They fired McDaniels because McDaniels was awful and he needed to go. Antonio Pierce was just the guy who was there. You know what I mean? And then they kept him, the interim. And I think that was to make up for the fact that they felt that though they should have kept Rich Bisaccia the first time, which also would have been a mistake, because keeping the interim is 99% of the time it's a mistake. Team shouldn't do it, depending on who the interim is, of course. There are exceptions to everything. Let's reset the show a little bit. Not Micah Parsons, Jeff Hafley in his press conference earlier today talking about the run defense, which to me has maybe been the most impressive part of Hafley's tenure as defensive coordinator so far, last year and this year.
Kind of what we talked about last week. I think it came back to the detail and the strain and the fundamentals and technique. And I thought our staff had a really good plan, and I give them a lot of credit. We put a lot of work into that. We knew how explosive and how talented that offense was and the amount of points that they've been able to score. And I just think we went out and executed the plan. I mean, I thought our line strained. I mean, gosh, it did such a good job of staying square against those big offensive linemen, tearing off blocks. Guys were in their right gaps. I mean, we had safeties running downhill. X and Evan were as physical as they've been. We had corners on the edge tackling. I mean, it was inspiring football to watch how physical and violent we were. I mean, Quay and Coop just engaging and tearing off blocks, and that's how we have to play the run. And we showed that earlier in the season, and we kind of hit a little bumpy path, and that's our expectation. That's our standard, because if we can do that against that offensive line and that running back, then our expectation is we should be able to do that every week. And it's not going to be easy, but I like the plan. I like the execution. I'm really proud of the way those guys played it. That's a good group.
I've been very impressed, big picture, the last 2 years with Jeff Hafley's ability to come in and set a really high floor in terms of run defense, even when I don't think their personnel is all that great for it. All right, let's take a quick call here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric, I-990.
I knew it. Why didn't I guess? Because when I guess, I'm always wrong. What's up, Eric?
Pulling the old sweep on to I-90 from 94 here.
Oh, you're hitting the intersection, turning left?
It's what it feels like. It feels like I'm doing a jet sweep every night. You got to know right when to make the cut.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
You do.
Of course.
To be successful at it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot less talk on winning weeks, and this goes for all football teams, not just. I just listened to your show, so I'm kind of stuck with Packers. So, But there's a lot less talk about plays working and not working when you win. Right?
Yeah.
There's just, we don't care about every little detail, about every little play. And statistics. I don't want to hear any. What do statistics have to do with it? Aaron Rodgers had the greatest statistics of all time, and he only won one Super Bowl. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Dan Marino, another case of it. Then you go to Tom Brady. Nobody sits and brags about Tom Brady's stats except for the number 6 or whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. He's got the lowest stat rate of any quarterback out there. 6. Was it 6 or 7?
I think it's 7. 6 with the Patriots and then a
7
7th in Tampa, yeah.
Right. That I don't want to hear about stats anymore. don't want it. It does. It's all about what you bring to the table that day. What do you bring to the table that day?
Well, the Packers statistics, Eric, like they're still, if you look at Jordan Love's EPA per play and the DVOA, you'd think the Packers are scoring 40 every week, and they're scoring 10 now.
You would. If you would look at his stats and not look at the score, you would say this guy is an MVP. In Aaron Rodgers' years, as when he first started, these would be MVP numbers. And it doesn't look that way today, does it?
No, it does not. And it's still weird, and that'll eventually come back down to earth if they keep scoring at this pace, which is not a strong pace. Eric, I appreciate the call. The jet sweep onto 90. Before we get to Mike here, there's one comment off the live stream that I got to read because I wanted to find a way to bring this up during the show, and I just didn't know that I was gonna, and this gives me an in. Wisconsin Sports on the Go comments, nothing like driving down County Road at 5 miles per hour following 2 combines watching the Wisco Sports Show. I tweeted about this last night at Wisco Grant. I was driving on Stoughton Road, which in Madison, if you know what that is, it's one of the larger thoroughfares after the Beltline, runs like south to north or north to south from the east side up towards East Wash. I saw a John Deere S-Series in the opposing lane. I thought I couldn't believe it. Now, again, you got to get the tractor on the highways. Where were they going? Is there like an implement dealer down in McFarland? This thing, and not, by the way, on Stoughton Road, not out by the airport where it's like, it feels kind of county highway-ish. This thing was crossing Buckeye and scooting. I ain't seen a combine. And the worst, also, your comment made me think, the worst road in Wisconsin to get stuck behind a combine, and it used to happen to me all the time, because I was thinking about this last night because I have no life, and what else am I going to think about? The worst road is if you're going from Arcadia to Eau Claire on 93, you are porked. There's no passing. It's just hilly enough and it's just windy enough where you're done. You are done. So if you are ever, it's a risky proposition in the fall or in the spring, or I guess anytime, but I don't know when combine, it seems like it's combine season right now. You get stuck behind a combine going north on 93 from Arcadia, you are porked. You are just in a parade. I saw one on Stoughton Road last night. I couldn't believe it. I actually I felt closer to home. I don't know, maybe there's a dealer, but you're going right through the heart of town, brother. I didn't know they could do that. Although if you're driving a combine, no one's going to tell you anything. Mike Clemens is going to join us next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, very quick follow-up because a couple of specific comments here. You can't get stuck behind a combine on 93. You're porked. All the way to Eau Claire from Arcadia. Miller says, 100% agree. 93 is terrible. We take the Minnesota side to Menominee. 25 is much straighter if you're stuck. Yes, take the Minnesota side. Cross in Wabasha. Go Nelson. Durand up to Downsville. Yes, yes, yes. AJ says 33 between La Crosse and Ontario is the same. Absolutely. Just straight enough, just flat enough to tease you, but never to let you pass. These are the things that we need to discuss. Now Mike Clemens can join us. Thanks to Bay Motel in Green Bay. Make your reservation, baymotelgreenbay.com. All right, Mike, big day up in Green Bay. Important things to discuss. Let's get into it.
Is that stuck behind a combine like that just harvested the field or something?
Oh, yeah. Big one. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what that's all about.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, even though the Giants have this losing record of only 2 wins, they have a tough defense. And Brian Burns was a first-round draft pick for the Panthers, like 16th overall.
Yep.
Giants picked him up in free agency. They've got a bunch of first-round picks on there. This dude's got 11 sacks already. Question, who's the leading quarterback sack guy in the NFL right now? It's not Micah Parsons. It's Brian Burns, the guy that you're going to be facing, an outside linebacker. Wears the big 0 jersey, like Matthew Golden and a couple of other guys in the league. 6'5", big, he's fast. And I asked LaFleur about this guy and the threat that he brings to Jordan Love this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a pretty dang good career up to this point. So he's always been a really good player. When you couple that with the guys around him, it's not surprising to me that he's having that type of year.
Around a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll see him on the ball. inside, off the ball. So they do a good job with him.
He's not that different from Micah Parsons in build and the way that he's moved around. He went just a couple picks after Rashawn Gary, right? But Rashawn Gary was more of the Packers type, big, strong, tall, defensive end, physical freak type.
Yeah, but when they hired Rashawn, or drafted him, he was going from a hand in the ground at Michigan to a stand-up linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got him back to hand in the ground as a defensive end. Adam Stanovich, was in the league trying to make it as an offensive lineman, got hired early from the 49ers to be an offensive line coach and assistant. He's now gone from that to your offensive coordinator in Green Bay after Nathaniel Hackett left. And, listen, when you're watching the Eagles game, and yes, you're going up against a tremendous defense, Jalen Carter and those guys. But, Josh Jacobs has to work for every yard that he gets. And if he gets 7 or 8 yards, it's usually all by his second effort. Like, where are the blocks? Where are the pancake blocks? And in terms of the pass protection, Jordan Love was under the gun all night long. There was very few times where he was able to just stand there in a clean pocket like he did, against the Steelers. And so Stanovich was asked, what's the problem with your offensive line right now overall?
Anytime, you get these guys playing offensive line, it's just one of those things that you always have to focus on is just keeping your pads under the defender. It's not a very natural position to be in, and it takes focus, and guys just need to always, as you're playing, keep constantly thinking about keeping my pads down, keeping a great base, keeping my hands inside, all those basic fundamentals that, it's just like on defense. Oh, our tackling was poor. Why was our tackling poor today? Because we had bad fundamentals. It's just kind of the same thing on offense with pad level as well, where you just really need to harp on it because it's not an easy thing to just go out there and do.
So how do you do that?
You just keep drilling it, keep talking about it. And just make sure the guys are really focused on it every week.
Mike, at a certain point, it's the little things. It's the fundamentals. I feel like we've been doing this for a year and a half now. And I believe that a team can progress and learn and improve as the season goes on, but it feels like we're kind of saying the same things that we said last year and they never got fixed last year. So pardon me if I'm a bit skeptical or starting to become a little bit skeptical that some of these things are going to get corrected.
Well, quote, the little things are things they talk about in teams that are struggling in the NFL because in terms of athletes, there's parity there.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of coaching, most of the time it's all the same. Game plan, that's different. What's your strategy? What kind of technique are you teaching your players this week to deal with a particular player on the other side of the ball, or who's going to spy on the quarterback? Those are the little things those are the little things that change games. Or how good at you are disguising your defenses and fooling the quarterback. Or, like even Stanovich was talking about. They said, hey, what about when you bring in Jumbo, you bring in Kennard and you've got 6 linemen, and then you get called for illegal formation because Bo Melton, who you've asked to go back from corner to wide receiver, doesn't take his damn foot off the line so that you're not covering up, as they say. In other words, Bo Melton was not paying attention, and he needed to take a step back if you're going to put that Kennard, number 70, outside the left tackle at tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost wanted to say this, but I thought, no, I know what the answer is. You'd like to think that Jordan Love catches that as well and starts yelling at the guy, hey, back off or wave him. But he's got his hands full. He's looking downfield. He's trying to figure out, where the pressure is going to be coming, et cetera, and he doesn't catch it. You know who fixed those things? Tucker Kraft.
Good point.
You could see him doing it. And then he would tell us about it. Like, hey, what happened on that play? We got formation problems, and I shouldn't be the one to fix it. That's the kind of stuff that's missing out there. On the other side of the coin, the Green Bay Packers defense felt like they won the game. Hey, man, we held the Super Bowl champs to 10 points. They were up 34 zip against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. We held them to 10 for 4 quarters on Monday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
And there's already people saying Jeff Hafley might be auditioning for his new job as the head coach of the New York Giants this weekend. Everyone's looking at Hafley and what he's done with the defense. And, give him credit. It's nice when Goody gets a Micah Parsons. to help out with his cause. So Hafley was asked today, hey, if you're a head coach, if, you're struggling on offense, and that was your responsibility right now to help out the struggling offense, how would you handle the situation if you're in Matt LaFleur's shoes?
Consistency and hard work. When I've come in here and I knew there were going to be hard questions, I haven't changed how I approached answering them or talking to, or my mood doesn't change. Yeah, I'm with you. We just played a really good game against the Eagles. We have a lot more football left to play. We're going to play a lot of football. All right, I'm confident of that. Regardless of what happens next week, the week after, I'm not going to change how I am around you. I'm not going to change how I am around the players. I'm going to be the same guy. I'm going to demand. I'm going to be upbeat. I'm going to be consistent, right? Now, if I need to make changes and adapt and evolve like I've talked to you about, then I need to do that. I mean, that's our job, right? And that's what we've tried to do. And if we need to figure out how to put players into better situations to make plays and switch things up, then we need to do that. Like, all joking aside, it's not going to change how I act, how I walk around, how I talk, how I coach, and how I treat these players. Confidence and belief and consistency, I think, are really, really crucial in this whole thing. And that's not going to change with me. And I think that goes back again to my time as a head coach, when I've seen both ends of this, that's the key. I mean, that's how our players have to react. And watch, I got confidence that our offense is going to go out, and this is no disrespect to the Giants, and we're going to score a lot of points. I mean, that's one of the best head coaches in all of the NFL, and one of the best play callers, who I still hate going against in 2 minutes like we do today, because he's really hard to defend. And they're going to get going. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about what we did against the Pittsburgh Steelers on offense. So everything, we're going to be okay. But I'm not changing how I am, so you can't bring me down today or tomorrow. All right.
That was the statement that supportive or statement of support for Matt LaFleur that stuck out to me. And then also the point where he's like, hey guys, remember what we were doing 2 weeks ago? I'm like, oh yeah, that was just it's crazy how fast things can change and narratives can change in the NFL.
Yeah. And when you and I were down there with Bill in the Bill Michaels show at Super Bowl, and Josh Jacobs came over to our broadcast booth and sat down, remember, we got on the mic and said, hey, this game we just lost to the Eagles, man, our quarterback needs a number one receiver. And we need some help on this offense. And we saw how great and talented Josh Jacobs was at running the ball, the potential that they had with their young receiver core, but they needed a number one. They needed to take one step up there because he felt that the defense could help them to get to where they want to go. And so what do? They spent the first-round pick on Matthew Golden. They spent an awful lot of money on a new left guard and Aaron Banks on the left side. They moved the veteran Elton Jenkins to the center. Now, Elton goes down in the Eagles game, and he's done for the season with the fractured fibula and some torn ligaments that's going to require surgery. And today we asked Josh Jacobs about, hey, honey, what do you think about Sean Ryan at center? And I think he's a straight shooter. He says, oh, he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy. He knows. When we get quizzed in meetings, he has the answers, and that's got to be legit. I was kind of surprised by that answer, but he feels confident that Sean Ryan can handle it at center. Now moving on forward for the rest of the season. What about this play that when he was so frustrated after the loss Monday night to the Eagles, and he said, "Yeah, they're even calling out our plays," and then we played that tape of the guy yelling, "Inside zone that way, inside zone that way." He goes, "Yeah, it's the league. That happens all the time. These coaches are good at coaching these guys and finding these tells and whatever." And then we said to Josh Jacobs, after telling Bill at the Super Bowl, the offense needs a number one receiver, you need more help on the offensive line, what does he think of where they are at an offense in Week 10?
Definitely, I would say definitely surprising. Definitely surprising. I didn't come in this year thinking it was going to be any type of, drop off or anything. I thought he was going to hit the ground running. I mean, you see the guys coming in. I'm like, okay, we're going to have a really good chance at, doing something really good this year. And we still do. I mean, we still got a lot of ball ahead of us. I haven't lost faith in these guys, and hopefully they haven't lost faith in me.
He doesn't sound dejected, but I don't know. There's something there, Mike. You know what I mean?
He's shooting up a flare.
Yeah,
we got problems.
A little bit.
We got problems.
He sounds frustrated, yeah.
And then Jordan Love, was taking some questions back because Matt LaFleur just said, I think there's some times where Jordan changes out of the pass play and goes to a run play to Josh Jacobs for ball security, and he just feels better about that because he sees 7 men dropped back there, and he doesn't know where to go, with the ball if they stick with the pass play so they can to the run play. And so Love was asked, what's your reaction to LaFleur saying, yeah, I wish you'd just stick with those pass plays more often?
Yeah, I think, like you said, a lot of our plays are, two-way plays and, predicated on the look we're getting from the defense. So, yeah, depending on what, coverage we're getting or depending on what the criteria is for each play, that's what it's going into. And obviously I'm going to stick to the rules of the play and play things true to, how I see it, what I'm seeing from the defense and things like that.
So you're never tempted to not follow the rules?
Sometimes there's definitely, there's definitely times when, if you think teams might be trying to disguise looks and things like that, and you, kind of feel like you can get a playoff or you're kind of guessing what you think we're going to get to post snap, then yeah, sure, you're definitely tempted. But there's also times where, sometimes maybe the run looks good and it's too good to be true, so you just got to can it and let it run.
Interesting. I'm going to have to ponder that for a bit.
And then Jordan Love was also asked, what about, do you think you're on the same page with your coach who, ESPN caught on the sidelines with the tablet and changing his menu and looking at the tablet and then throwing up his hands in the air because he can see the wide open receiver that Love missed? Like, do you think you're on the same page as your play caller?
Yeah, there's a lot. We communicate, I think, a good amount throughout the week of just being on the same page with the plays we got. Make sure, obviously, I feel comfortable with the plays. And Matt, obviously, they put a lot of work into the game plan to try and, give us the best schemes when we get out there on Sundays. So there's a lot of communication, throughout the week that goes into, the final game plan and make sure everybody's on the same page.
That's not a resounding yes. It's not a no.
So it triggered this memory for me today.
Okay.
You've heard the story when Brett Favre years later said he'd been the starting quarterback of the Packers for a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And finally he turns to Ty Detmer and says, Ty, what's this nickel thing that they keep talking about?
Yep.
And Ty says, Brett, you're kidding, right? No. What do they mean by nickel defense? Well, and then he explains to him, well, they bring in a corner, they take out a linebacker, they've got 5. And then Favre's reaction was that all there is? I mean, is that it? That's what it's all about. I mean, he played in 20 games before he really understood what Holmgren was saying about a nickel defense.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to 2010, and a story that Aaron Rodgers told us later on, and then Mike McCarthy was asked about it. He had been the starting quarterback for 2 years. And finally, going through kind of a slump on the offense, he went to McCarthy and said, look, man, I don't get what you're doing. I don't get your thought process. I need more time. And McCarthy said, okay, fine. How about Thursdays at 3? Okay. And then later McCarthy would say, Jesus, man, Aaron kept me in there sometimes till 5:30, 2.5 hours. But it's because Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to ask these questions in front of the quarterback's coach or the backup. He needs to be one-on-one with this guy. Slow down and explain to me exactly why you would call this play after that play, or why you think this play works on this side. And he became a sponge at that. And then he totally clicked and understood where McCarthy was going with his series of play callings or what his philosophies were, and they won a damn Super Bowl.
So you think there needs to be think of it this way, and we got about 2 minutes here, Mike, but I think this is worthwhile. You get in a relationship with someone, you have that honeymoon phase for a while, and then you have your first kind of hiccup as a relationship, and it's like, okay, well, we need to communicate. We need to work through some things maybe in a way that we haven't before. Maybe football is the same way, where it's like, okay, we've been kind of flying by the seat of our pants and it's been working, but now I actually need to sit down and say, okay, I don't understand this, or I need you to understand this. And you were pointing to a moment where Favre and Rodgers both did that. Maybe that's what Love and LaFleur need.
It's going on defense, because who's the player that told us, and he doesn't talk to us that often, but who's told us, like we said, man, you're like a new guy out there. What's going on? And he said, you know what? I sat down with Half, and you know what? After about a year and a half here, this is what clicked for me. This and this and this, to the point where when he's up there in the booth, up by you guys in the press box, and he calls into my helmet, I can finish the sentence.
Sure.
He can start something. I could know what I look at. I see 3rd and 7. I see where we are in the field. I know what they just ran before, and I can complete a sentence. It's already out of my mouth in the huddle. That's Quay Walker. And look at the season he's having. So I don't, that's the next question, and it has to be the right moment or atmosphere or whatever. But to say to Love, maybe you need like more, than you understand.
Yeah.
One-on-one time with the play caller to completely understand where he's going with this.
Sure. Well, Mike, I'm sorry to cut you off. That was excellent, and I'm excited to explore this more on Bill's show tomorrow, but I got to go. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Grant.
Mike Clemens, thanks to Bay Motel in Green Bay. We'll wrap it up and turn things over to Zach and Ebo next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
All right, we got about 60 seconds. Temple and Heilprin coming up next. If Ebo and Zach are connected, I would love to say hello. Happy hour, get some food. Oh, I see some.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
Okay.
Oh boy.
wow.
Oh boy. Did you hear what you just said, Grant?
Temple and Heilprin.
Did I say
My
Temple?
last name's
Oh,
Thorson.
God. I didn't even notice.
Oh my gosh.
Apologies.
But okay, Jesse Temple has better hair. He's more handsome. It makes sense.
Different hair.
It
I don't
makes
know about
sense.
better hair. Better than Zach. Not you. You just have different. Respectfully, Zach.
Do you
Excited
really
to
want
listen
to talk
tonight.
hair?
Grant, I love you so much. Thank you for having us on for 30 seconds.
Love you too, Grant.
I love you. Yeah, I would let hair with you, Zach. Yeah, I would be comfortable talking hair. You're bald. I potted you down. You have no chance to respond. Bald ass. Enjoy Thorson and Heilprin. My bad. It's a long day. End of the show. I get a freebie. Enjoy Thorson and Heilprin. Talk to you tomorrow.